She's
Allison
not legit.
Russo's talking about running for something too, and the scuttlebutt is she might run for Senate. So I don't know.
Okay, well, Russo, yeah, I don't think that I'm not worried about Russo. I'm not worried about her. She didn't do anything as she was the minority leader, and what did she do for the Democrats?
Make
Nothing.
noise. That's all.
Nothing. She's. I'm not worried about her at all. I hope her, Tim Ryan. I mean, I'd beg them to get into the race. Neither one of them has a shot. I don't think. Maybe Sherrod Brown, but this is going to be a MAGA year. You know, it's going to be tough to beat the Republican. It's going to
Well,
be, in my opinion.
something else to throw a wrench out there is I think Tressel's going to run. You should take some time and go out and look at who the contributors are to that PAC.
That could be. Yeah, you're right.
DeWine has a PAC called Ohio Way PAC, Planned Parenthood,
Wow.
the Tide Foundation. Take a look at who the contributors are to that. They held a fundraiser. DeWine and Tressel held a fundraiser through the Ohio Way PAC in Cleveland last week and pulled in $500,000. They did another fundraiser in Cincinnati last week, and I heard they pulled $1 million on that. Now, why is DeWine fundraising? He can't run again. I mean, the money has to go to Tressel. I mean, what else would they be doing with it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Where else would that money be going? Yeah, you're right.
And another reason we need to close the primary, because Tressel will pull in Democrats.
That's what they're counting on.
Yeah. I mean, are you guys really? Do you really think that Tressel could pull this off?
Hey, I didn't think DeWine could pull it off. I saw the polling. I was pretty sure Renacci was going to win. I did not.
Well, Blystone hadn't jumped in.
Nobody knew DeWine was going to pull 250,000 Democrats. Nobody knew that.
Well, Joe, to be fair, a lot of people say that, but Blystone was in before Renacci, so it's not that Blystone. And I don't even want to step into that again because, I mean, people are still bitter about that. I mean, that divided our camp. The people were so divided between Blystone and Renacci. There were like households that split, which is crazy. The battles that took place. Right. But the notion that people still say that, like Renacci would have won if Blystone hadn't stepped in. But we got to be fair. Blystone actually came into the race quite a while after Joe Blystone did. So let's be honest about what happened there. But the results.
That's true. That's very true. I don't disagree with you at all. But even I don't like people to say, well, if Blystone hadn't have gotten in. The real problem is the Democrats are who costed us that race.
Correct.
It wasn't Jim or Blystone. It was the Democrats.
Correct.
Don't forget that Trump didn't weigh in. If President Trump would have put his endorsement behind one of the candidates, whether it was Stone or Renacci, they would have won.
True, but Paduchek was behind that not happening. So
right, but I'm just saying there's plenty of blame to go around as to how we ended up with DeWine.
Yeah, so there's a in my book in Ohio politics there are some no-fly zones, and in my book, knowing what I know, if DeWine is involved or Kasich or Paduchek or there's a long list. As soon as their name enters the conversation, I hear that last night they got together and somebody had a steak dinner with somebody or whatever. It immediately sours anything and everything because it just immediately destroys any hope, any substance behind a we the people grassroots type of movement.
Right.
Because those people have been working schemes and shenanigans and back office deals for decades, destroying America, just leeching money out. It is the Columbus Cartel, as Tom Z likes to call it. And they've figured out all these ways of having all their little mechanisms to pull money and shift things around and lie to the public and pull media campaigns in to confuse people. Whatever it takes, they hold on to power. The longer they hold on to power, the more Ohioans end up living in tents under bridges and struggling to survive because they have leached the state dry. It's a beautiful state. We need to work on focusing on how to get back to our true, beautiful, wonderful state of Ohio. And that will never happen with that murky, dark cabal of people hovering around politics. And they do it, let's be fair, going back to the beginning of this conversation and what we started with, they do it by manipulating the Democrat vote. Mm-hmm. They know they can't get their wishy-washy, tepid and Democrat until 5 minutes ago into the State House. What they do is they'll put up somebody who is an actual Republican, and then they will throw mud all over them and terrify the Democrats, get the Democrats to cross over in the hundreds of thousands to vote for the Democrat with the R next to their name, the Rhino. And then on we go. It's a treadmill of disaster and doom for Ohio. We need to break it, which actually is a little side note. It's completely unrelated, but I actually am hanging some significant hope on Marcel Sturbich for Secretary of State, because I think there's a school of thought that says we learned our lesson in 2022. We had a whole slate of grassroots. The cabal, the Columbus Cartel, threw everything they could, disrupted all kinds of stuff. They threw around all kinds of accusations. But I think what's coming to a head here in Columbus and this race is putting all of our emphasis and weight behind one person to get them in. And I guess an analogy might be getting that one good person on school board, because they can get in, they can start to be the eyes for we the people and report on it and start talking about the things that are broken. Because if they have a complete cabal, we can't even see. So my hope is that we can get Marcel Sturbich in as Secretary of State and at least start getting one good person, and we build on that.
Yeah, and stop that musical chairs stuff from happening. The commission's with us tonight. How you doing? Now, have you been in the Zoom room for a while, or did you
I have.
I apologize.
But
I've been looking for you, and I hadn't seen you. And then I there's a lot of little cubes, and then I can't look at them all. And then I was just glancing through it, and I said, "There's John." Oh my gosh, yeah, it's good to see you, man. Sorry about that. So go ahead. I know
Jonathan called for one good person, so here I am.
Yeah, the commish. Let me ask you a question, commish. If Tressel or Vivek in the primary, who would you put your money on?
Not even close. Vivek is going to win this primary. It's a foregone conclusion. President Trump has a 100% win record in his primary choices in Ohio. And I truly do not believe that Jim Tressel is going to run. I think it's very clear that Governor DeWine wants Jim Tressel to run. But Jim is a smart guy. He didn't become president of Youngstown State for nothing. He didn't win all those championships for Ohio State for nothing. He knows what he's doing. And I think he understands he has two choices. He could essentially be mayor of Ohio for 2 years and go out on a high note, or he can enter a bloodbath of a primary and get his butt kicked. And I don't see Jim Tressel taking that on. So I think you're going to see a lot of speculation. You're going to see Governor DeWine nudge him, but I don't think you're going to see him pull the trigger. I think that barring Vivek getting hit by a bus, Tressel is not running for governor.
Yeah, I kind of feel that same way too. But like Linda was just saying, they've been doing a lot of fundraising and stuff. So
that's what I'd like to know. What are they doing with those two fundraisers that they've had? What are they going to do with the money? I mean, DeWine's not running again. The only person that can use that money would be Tressel.
DeWine's got a lot of kids, and there are plenty of other politicians that may want to run with DeWine's blessing. So I'm sure that part of it is a backup in case Tressel runs, but I think that's increasingly unlikely. And at the end of the day, dark money PACs can spend money 7 ways to Sunday, and it's not as though there aren't a lot of other campaigns and a lot of other races. Mm-hmm. We may not even be thinking as far ahead as Governor DeWine and what race he may be worried about next. But there's never any politician who isn't happy to have millions in the bank to spend.
No, that is a good point. That he's got that money, then he can. So I don't know what the campaign rules are on it, but he could probably dish that off to any candidate that he wants to, right? If he wants. So
well, in a PAC form, he can just spend it on the candidate's behalf without any real limits. If he's making contributions, and of course there are limits in some races, there aren't in others. Local races, he can put an unlimited amount of money in. State races, there are contribution limits. But if he's just doing the spending directly from the PAC. I mean, he can spend millions of dollars in one race or the other. So who knows? I'm sure that part of it is the hope that Tressel runs, and Governor DeWine has openly talked about that. But in the same breath, Tressel also says, I'm just thinking about it. And I think reading between the tea leaves, you'd have to be obtuse to not recognize that the endorsement of President Trump plus the Ohio Republican Party, you're not going to beat that.
You ain't going anywhere. You're absolutely correct on that. You ain't going anywhere. The Republican Party has already put the stamp of approval on Vivek. Alex Trantafilo, the chairman, has said we are going to devote all resources, all time, effort, everything to get him across the finish line. That Tressel stepping in would cause ripple effect. People would get pretty angry, pretty ticked off if he decided to throw his hat in. And I kind of agree with you. I just don't see it happening. If we hadn't endorsed, if Vivek had not been endorsed, I think Tressel, that opened the door wide for Tressel, but it's closed now, in my opinion.